TIFU by going to the gym and immediately pinning myself to the weight bench so severely that I had to be rescued. Then I did something really embarrassing. A few years ago I spent a Saturday blissfully tripping by myself. I had dosed that afternoon and I started coming down as the sun was coming up. It was a bright, crisp morning and I felt completely at peace. I was shuffling my music and Sunday Morning by the Velvet Underground came on. It was too perfect and gorgeous to feel cliché and affected. I suddenly made a decision. I had to make some changes. I had to get my banana to the gym. I was surprised to see so many people. I had thought, hey, 7 AM on a Sunday, I'll have the run of the place. I was obviously incorrect. All the cardio machines were taken. I couldn't just stand there. I was already getting sweaty and I'd been so high for so long so recently. I saw an empty bench press and went for it. I couldn't remember what I used to bench back in school, so I decided to estimate on the low side at around 160. I am 6'2" and 250 pounds. I was gonna relax with some leisurely sets and wait for a treadmill to open up. It was heavier than I imagined. I figured my guns were rusty. I decided to only execute a couple perfect pumpings of weight and then wait for cardio. Suddenly the bar reached the apex of my first attempt and my body gave up with horrifying finality. It was all I could do to keep it balanced while it came down slowly but surely like a hydraulic lift. I let it sit on my chest while I came up with a plan. Every time I tried to move it my arms shook and wobbled like a fawn learning to stand. I decided to slowly rock back and forth until it could roll down my beautiful plus-size body. With momentum and gravity it would roll to my thighs and free me. Perfect. I tensed my belly and strained forward with all of my might. The bar rolling down toothpasted a fart out. I lacked the strength to tighten my zucchini so it just kinda fell out. Sounded like a giant blowing on a bottle. If anyone heard it, they ignored it. Despite my meticulous calculations, the bar had stopped and settled between my belly and groin. It hurt. I slowed my breathing and just relaxed. It'll be okay, I thought. I got this, I prayed. Brap 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 brap. Nope, it's bad. This is bad. Everyone had to have heard the rounds I let fly from the old semi-auto bubble gut. The volume was incredible. No one knew I was literally pinned to the goddamn bench, ashamed and trapped there in my fart. No one laughed. Time was frozen but I assume only a few minutes passed. Finally a very small man ran over, effortlessly grabbed the weights and racked them. He looked up at me with genuine concern. Hey man, are you all pop? To his credit he only grinned for a second before regaining control. More like a twitch. I nodded somberly, thanked him and shook his hand. I tried to act like my banana had not just popped off like a string of firecrackers and finished off with the moan of a dying whale. He left me standing there, trying to plan a graceful exit strategy. Everyone was pretending not to notice me as they stared peripherally and slowed or stopped their exercise. All I wanted was a way to salvage this and look normal. Like I wasn't bothered at all. So, knowing I was being observed, I did this. I stood tall, nodded to myself like I nailed it, clapped firmly one time and said alright. Fuck me. The door barely whispered shut behind me when the laughter started. I ran to my car. I can now find the humor in my pathetic failed bench press and uncontrollable farting. There is nothing funny about the clap. It pops into my head randomly every few months or so and makes my face hot and my stomach cramp. I just wanted to look like a normal human being. Doctor, I went to the gym under the influence, publicly displayed how weak I am, became trapped on the bench and farted uncontrollably until I was rescued. Then I pretended I had just done really well and congratulated myself with a little nod, clap and alright as if I could alter reality by sheer force of will. The clap and alright is just the cherry on top. Beautiful. Toothpasted a fart out is incredible. Seriously. Has writing in his blood and it's all oozing out. Clapping, cool face, clapping, alright. I can see how, from your POV, the clap is unforgivable, but reading that made me emit a noise that startled my GF awake. Well played. And GT, then I pretended I had just done really well and congratulated myself with a little nod, clap and alright as if I could alter reality by sheer force of will. Coincidence. Confidence is key. Convince everyone else that was your plan all along, then you didn't do anything wrong. This is awesome. I think the best part is the clap. We've all done stupid things, but rarely do we have the balls to clap and pretend we're alright. I hope you let this go. It's hilarious and cool. No big deal. TIFU by being young and dumb, I guess. I was 16 when this happened. Golden age of butternut ups. I hooked up with one of the girls from my church. We were on opposite ends of the spectrum when it came to religious obligations. I was more of an observer in our church, whereas as she was like fully devoted to serving the big G. However, the two of us shared one common goal. We wanted to coconut, which we did. But afterwards she was overcome with religious guilt and without warning me went straight to our pastor to confess her carnal sins. She named and shamed both of us. None of this would have been that bad if it wasn't for the banana up fact that our pastor was also my banana father. So thanks to that confession, that's how my dad found out his virgin son dipped his doodle in the deacon's daughter. Edit, thank you for the silver and gold. Edit, okay, goat banana. Some of you are sick of all the coconut posts. Noted. Edit, a few of you are asking how my old man reacted. Every second or third weekend he dragged my coconut to prison, where he would occasionally preach the word of God. Being there scared the coconut out of me, and he knew that. I was forced to listen to rehabilitated rapists and murderers read scriptures out of the Bible and give me lessons on what it meant to be born again and to live a pure life in Christ. Free from temptation, sin, all the zucchini. 16-year-old me was guilty of that time. I never had zucchini with the deacon's daughter ever again. TL doctor made ungodly love to a Christian girl. She went crazy with guilt and confessed all our filthy fornicating to the pastor of our church, aka my dad. Went from serving the big G to the big D. Dude should have exploited the poop hole loophole and preserved her immortal soul. God's plan softly plays in the background. Totally not acceptable. Confession is supposed to be private. If she confessed, it should be between the two of them. Depends on the church. The Catholic concept of confession booths with unbreakable anonymity is not universal. Most churches do confession of sin more normally, the way someone who isn't Christian might tell someone in authority if they messed up and want to make it right. I dated a Mormon in high school and it was the most stressful thing in my life. I was unaware of how extreme that church was and I knew she was devout, but we did stuff anyways. Once I caught on, I tried to respect her religious boundaries, but it was already too late. She kept pushing the envelope further and further, guilting me into having coconut, then crying afterwards. One day, she couldn't take the guilt any longer and she went and confessed to her bishop. I was actually going to her church at the time because I knew this day would come and I couldn't let her confess without me or else the story would be twisted. Well, the bishop made her confess anyways, then called me into his office. He told me that according to her, I was the one that pushed the boundaries and forced her into coconut. So I broke up with her, never went to that church again, graduated and left. That's banana. I dated some Mormon boys in high school and they treated me like I was this seducing witch. TIFU by having banana so good that my partner had to go run off and tell God. TIFU by falling asleep then waking up while my roommate bought his date back. This happened many years ago, but it's still an experience that brings a few laughs. TL doctor at the bottom. Back in college, I shared a room with a 4'9" dude and he was nice man. He would always leave everything spotless. He was an amazing wingman and he always managed to make sure that when we had a few people over that they'd all have food readily available and drinks, etc. He was so cool. Anyway, he told me he was going to have a date and asked if I'd be going to my friend's house for the night. He didn't live too far and I had been talking about meeting him one of the days. I was like, yeah, maybe. Oh, I see you want the room tonight, I got you, don't worry. So he's all nervous about his date and I give him a pep talk. I said, you're a good man, your date's gonna be great and you definitely look ace. He was all hyped up and left. I called my buddy and asked if he was at home. He was actually at work, but he told me he'll be back home within a couple hours or so. Now, My roommate who was on his date told me he would ring or text me to let me know he got back safe to the room and to give me the heads up when to leave. So, I figured I got plenty of time. I laid on the bed and basically waited for 2 hours to go by to get a phone call from my buddy to tell me he had finished work. But, I instead get a text message from him saying he had finished work and that he'll be getting home a lot later than expected. Still no sign from my roommate on his date though, who said he'll ring/message me if he's bringing his date back. And I ended up falling asleep again after waiting for my buddy to message me when he's free to meet. After some time passes, I begin to wake up a little because I hear some distorted voices, giggling and bed creaking. I'm like, oh cheesecake, he's with his date. Him and her are gonna be pissed if I ruin their night now by waking up. Why didn't he text me or ring? So, I stayed stationary and pretended to be asleep. I hear them both get out of bed and lay on the floor. I imagine cause of the bed creaking. I then start to hear the almighty thunderous clapping of balls and I'm seriously trying to hold my laughter in but then I heard moaning like a Japanese anime character, which confused me. Anyway, at this point I'm still trying to hold my laughter in. I realized I had knocked my phone near the edge of the bed because of my inability to keep my composure, so I decided to try and grab it Splinter Cell lock-picking style. I grabbed the phone without being noticed and in that moment curiosity got the better of me. The ball slamming stopped and it went quiet, so I decided then take a slight peek to see if him and his date was asleep and if the coast was clear. Nope. As I opened my eye, all I see is a 6'7", huge bald black dude followed by the deepest male voice I've ever heard in my entire life say, now say you want more now, and continue the almighty thunderous ball slamming. I see my 4'9" roommate getting absolutely destroyed up and down like a goddamn yo-yo, waving his arms in the sky like when you was a kid and needed a piss but you was in class and you had to raise your hand impatiently to get the teacher's attention to go to the bathroom. I again stayed stationary as possible with tears of laughter running down my eyes. All the business stopped and the behemoth of a man left the dorm and my roommate just went straight to bed humming. The next day I got up early, showered and decided to get McDonald's breakfast for myself and my roommate and a strong coffee. Believe me, even I felt exhausted after all of that. I come back to the room to see my roommate watching TV as if nothing happened whatsoever. I said, well, tell me about the date. Was she nice? Whilst he grinned and ate his sausage McMuffin, he just looked at me and said it was so much fun, we're going to meet again very soon. Now, I didn't want to say anything because his sexuality is his business and he'll say when the time was right. He did a month later. So, I said, I'm glad you had a good time. As I leave the room and make my way down the hallway, what do I see? The behemoth black dude walking down hallway with the look of a man on a mission, literally like Terminator as he walks through the hallway of the psychiatric hospital. I took a last glance through the window while the dude made his way to my room. So, when my friend said we're going to meet again soon, little did I know it would be less than 10 hours from the other night. But at least this time they had all the privacy they wanted and I didn't have to almost die of laughter. TL, doctor, roommate went on a date, brought back home his date, didn't know his date was another dude. I fell asleep and eventually woke up to see him getting destroyed by a dude the size of Bob Sapp who came back less than 10 hours later for round 2. And I'm 99% certain he ate my McDonald's hash brown that I left on the side. Edit_brought_ in title, I'm tired it. Edit 2 Holy Coconut, Plat/Gold and Silvers, thanks you so much. Edit 3, I know my titles suck worse than the Avatar adaptation The Last Airbender live action movie, forgive me. Some have asked and yeah, me and my ex-roommate are still friends but we both live on different sides of the planet now. Now say you want more killed me. Your description of his giant partner going full Terminator almost made me cry, greatest imagery. Almighty thunderous clapping of balls. Mr. Real opportunity to get your roommate a coffee, then say here, just how you like it, strong and black. He liked that sausage McMuffin alright. Sausage McStuffin. Edit my most upvoted comment is about a Bob Sapp lookalike destroying a guy's banana while his roommate listens. Some dreams do come true.